Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 5, and today we are going to be talking about Isaac Newton. So, first, who is Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton was an English physicist and mathematician, and one of the most famous figures of the scientific revolution. He was responsible for the discovery of mathematics, astronomy, physics, and sciences that we know and are continuing to learn today. So, for example, he formulated the three laws of motion that form the basis for physics. He also discovered that white light is composed out of light from different colors that form the basis for basic optics. He also helped in the development of calculus, which is fundamental for people who are taking engineering degrees. Isaac Newton was also nicknamed as the father of modern science. Going to Isaac Newton's early life, he was born on the 4th of January 1643 at Woolstorf, Lincolnshire, England. He was born 3 months after the death of his father. His father was a farmer whose name was also Isaac Newton. His father was described as a wild farmer simply because he enjoyed his job so much he enjoyed it wildly. He was a premature baby who was not expected to survive at all. He was actually born earlier than his supposed due date, and so young Isaac was a small child. His mother Hannah even said that he was so small he could fit inside a quart mug. When he was 3 years old, his mother remarried. His mother Hannah remarried his new stepfather Reverend Barnabas Smith, and he wanted nothing to do with Isaac. Isaac was then raised by his grandmother for many years. And the loss of his mother left Isaac sad and devastated and insecure until he started going to school.
Newton studied at the King's School, Grantham, for the age of 12 to 17, where you can see his signature in the library windowsill. He was removed from school, moved back with his mother, because she wanted him to become a farmer, even if he doesn't want it, until the master of the King's School persuaded his mom to let him continue his education. He then became the top-ranked student. In June of 1661, he attended Trinity College, Cambridge in United Kingdom to work and study and receive his degree in August of 1665. After receiving his degree, the university had temporarily closed. Then began his home studies for 2 years.
So in this slide, I am going to talk about two discoveries of Isaac Newton. First is the apple tree. The apple tree in sight was discovered in 1666. He discovered the principle of universal gravitation by observing the fall of an apple while he was sitting in his garden. Following his gravitational discovery are the laws of motion. He discovered this in 1686 as he presented in his seminal work Principia Mathematica Philosophia Naturalis. The first law of motion states that every object will remain at rest or in uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change its state by the action of an external force. The second law of motion, on the other hand, this law states that the force to be equal to change in momentum per change in time. This means that the acceleration of an object depends on the mass of an object and the amount of force applied. For the third law of motion, this law states that for every action in nature, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This means that whenever one object exerts a force on a second object, the second object exerts an equal and opposite force on the first.
For the third and fourth discovery of Newton, it is calculus and optics. First, let me discuss Newton's calculus. Isaac Newton changed the world when he invented calculus in 1665. We take this for granted, but what Newton accomplished at the age of 24 is simply astonishing. Calculus has uses in physics, chemistry, biology, economics, pure mathematics, and all branches of engineering and even more. It is not an overstatement to say that Newton's insight in the development of calculus has truly revolutionized our ability to pursue new branches of science and engineering. It is used in problems when a quantity changes as a function of time, which is how most problems behave in reality. When he invented calculus and outlined its uses, Isaac Newton made one of the most important breakthroughs in mathematics history, and it is still vital to this day. Meanwhile, in optics, his discovery of the composition of white light integrated the phenomena of colors into the science of light and laid the foundation for modern physical optics. Newton's also helped to develop spectral analysis. The next time you look up at the rainbow in the sky, you can thank Newton for helping us first understand and identify its seven colors. He began working on his studies of light and color even more before creating the reflecting telescope, although he presented much of his evidence several years later in his 1704 book, Optics.
So, what role did Isaac Newton play in the scientific revolution? Newton's research on motion helped give credibility to the heliocentric view. Newton also helped pioneer telescopic innovations and he is sometimes credited with inventing the first reflecting telescope. He also conducted experiments using the prism and developed a theory about the nature of color and light. So, Sir Isaac Newton, 1642 to 727. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Newton made discoveries in optics, motion, and mathematics. Newton theorized that white light was a composite of all colors of the spectrum and that light was composed of particles. He also published Principia in 1687, which postulated the law of universal gravitation. This synthesized the astronomy of Copernicus as corrected by Kepler's law with the physics of Galileo. According to this law, every body in the universe attracts every other body in the universe in a precise mathematical relationship whereby the force of attraction is proportional to the quantity of matter of the objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them.